How's it going, guys? Today we're doing something a little bit different, and I am cutting up these drums with the help of my friend Bobby. Now, there's a few different routes for cutting shells down. I'm doing it so that I can do an electric conversion on an acoustic kit. I got the shells dirt cheap with the sole purpose of doing this, and the only thing that I didn't really want to tackle on my own, even though I've done it before, is cutting the shells down. And there's a few different routes of doing this. If you've got a bench router, then that's the easiest way. That seems to be how most people do it. I've seen a guy who clamps a handsaw between some timber and then just rotates the drum until it cuts through. But what I'm going to do with this video is I'm going to see if there's a better way with multiple options. So we're going to do one with a handsaw, we're going to do one with a jigsaw, we're going to do one with a grinder, and I think we're probably going to do one with a reciprocating saw.
We shall give it a try.
We shall give it a try. It's probably going to be pretty rough, but because this is going to be an electric kit and these cuts are going to be on the bottom, we don't have to worry too much about bearing edges, we don't have to worry about how smooth it is. But if you were concerned about that and we're just cutting down an acoustic kit, then that is something that you could resolve afterwards without too much trouble. This is mainly just to get a large portion of the material off the drums. So these are the shells in question, and what I've done already is I've put masking tape so that I can mark out exactly what depth I want to cut the shells to. And I've worked these out based on where the mount points are going to be and where the lugs are going to sit. The floor tom and the top toms are just going to be cut down more for saving weight on the rack than anything else. And from that point, it's just a case of chopping the bastards, let's go. The first one we're going to start with is the handsaw, because that's the one that most people have to hand. And what I've done to make life easier is we've stuck it on Bobby's little rolling road, just so that we can turn the drum while we're actually cutting. Don't know how successful this is going to be, so let's just start chopping and see what happens.
I think it's clear to say at this point that Tim has absolutely no idea what he's doing.
It's just an awkward angle. Now,
Any excuse.
there may be some of you out there that are saying, "Oi, dickhead, why are you leaving the wrap on? Because it makes it so much easier to cut when it's not on." Well, I'll be re-wrapping this with a much thinner finish, and it's easier for it to stick to the existing wrap than it is to stick to just the bare wood. And I can't be arsed lacquering, so sure.
And not only that, but keeping the wrap on will also prevent the wood from splintering.
That is very true. So even if you weren't cutting with a wrap on, it's worth having the masking tape to also prevent that, as well as being able to actually mark out what you're doing.
Would you like a hand there, Tim?
Yeah, do you want to take over?
I can do. I've noticed you're struggling on this. We'll maybe use that for the other methods a bit later on. Mate, you are well off on these lines.
I know.
You're going into it.
Well, it's not a fine art. At least not the way I do it.
I can tell. We'll see if I can make these work. Could you hold it for me?
Glad I kept my fingers out of the way for that.
Yeah.
Benefits of this method is that we've got long strokes, and you can actually use the front end of the saw as a guide for the back end through the cut as you're making it, which makes it a lot easier to keep straight. Downside, human error. That's something that you just have to deal with all hand tools. It also definitely helps to have someone else hold the shells while you're doing it. That's a viable method, as long as you've got a friend, which, if you're a drummer, safe to assume you don't. Okay, so we tried the reciprocating saw. It did not work.
I mean, it did work.
I mean, it cut, but show them the cut that it made.
It certainly wouldn't be very straight. So I mean, it cut through, don't get me wrong, but as soon as you try and follow a line, you're just going to go, wee. So, no.
Yeah. I've never liked reciprocating saws because they're not that accurate.
No.
Yeah, so we did a couple of test cuts, which I would recommend for doing stuff like this, just so you know that you're not going to absolutely destroy your shells. And this is how we learn. So, moving on, we are going straight to the jigsaw. And yeah, we've got it braced against the wall so that we're not sort of wobbling it about. And Bobby's going to show you how that's done.
Hopefully. So first, if you do use a jigsaw, I mean, we've already got a big hole here that we're going to use, but if you're going to use a jigsaw, you do want to drill a hole in just before you start cutting so you can fit your blade through. But saying as we've already got a hole here, we're just going to use that, saves drilling an extra hole down there. So I'm going to try and get this to line up and then hopefully follow it.
So, Bobby, how was that for you?
Bit awkward, actually.
Yeah.
Because even though having the shell there was nice because I could rotate it and basically hold the saw still, but there's a lot of vibration, so it was kind of, my arm was getting tired halfway through. And because there's a lot of vibration, and with the saw having that kind of bend to it, I was trying to fight to keep it straight. So I think handsaw, a good fresh handsaw, probably still my favourite option at this minute in time.
Okay, so now let's move on to option C, which is using a grinder, which is fair to say it's your favourite tool, isn't it?
Oh, it's my favourite tool. The only difference is I haven't got like a wood cutting blade, but we shall see how it goes.
Yeah. With this method, it's going to create a lot of smoke because we've not got the disc that's designed for wood.
You're basically burning the wood.
Yeah, we're essentially just starting fires. Fortunately, we do have a fire extinguisher to hand. We've opened both the doors and we've got the extractor on, so we should be good to go.
Yeah.
And if I catch fire, then extra bonus footage.
Yeah. So let's make some smoke.
It's still not apart, Bobby.
No. But at this point, when using an angle grinder, what I've done is I've gone round first and that's giving me line. And now what I'll do next is I'll start to dig in a bit deeper, because if you go too much on one spot, you'll heat it up and probably cause it to combust. So you want to kind of, if you're using like a metal cutting disc like I am doing, if that's all you've got to hand, then you want to just keep spreading that heat all around. Yes, it'll smoke, but it won't combust.
Cool.
Ta-da!
Yay!
So yes, it takes a little bit longer, but there is a much smoother cut.
So out of the three methods, what's your favourite so far?
Well, I'd probably say the quickest and probably the easiest method is probably the handsaw, in all fairness.
Yeah, it felt like that was the one that had the most control.
Yeah.
Probably take about the same amount of time as the other two methods we've tried.
I'd say so. I mean, you know me, I love my angle grinder.
You do.
I
love
do
your angle
everything with
grinder.
my angle grinder. But,
Disturbing things.
yeah. But we won't talk about that. But I'd definitely say angle grinder is nice if you've got the comfortability and the control with it. But my God, it does smoke.
Yeah.
So if you can find a cutting disc that's like, made for wood, I don't actually know if they do one. I would imagine so. But if you can find some sort of a disc for wood, then it'll take you no time at all with the grinder.
Yeah,
And
because
I do feel you've probably got more control.
yeah, I think the worst part of using the grinder was it smelled like a petrol fire in a shit factory.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
No.
That wasn't just the smell of wood. That was the smell of burning plastic and whatever resins they've used to make the drum itself. So we're going to move on to the final shell, which is for the kick.
And also, when you're using a grinder, you get yourself covered in
It's alright, you can swear on my channel.
shit. So yeah, I think I'm going to probably cut this with the handsaw. That definitely seems to be the favourite method so far.
Yep.
So, like you said, mate, more control. And if anything, I actually felt last time that it was faster,
It's just getting that start cut is always the hard bit.
which is what your fingers are for.
Beautiful. The cuts, the difference between the cuts is that the handsaw probably gives you a bit of a rougher edge. So there's some sanding to do, maybe just get a file on it, just to take off the splinters so that it's not like constantly attacking you. The results with the grinder weren't actually too bad, few bits of splinters, but that is a
Relatively smooth, actually.
that is a very smooth and flat finish on that. In terms of edge finish, it's a good shout. But the Jigsaw, which was this one, is probably, I'd say that's the cleanest of all of them. Obviously, because there's no burning, no splitting.
But as for straightness, I don't know.
Yeah, straightness
Yeah,
is
if
something.
you look at it, it's very wavy.
Yeah, as you look down through, you're not going to be able to pick it up on camera, but there are some errant cuts. So there you have it, a little bit of trial and error. This channel is here to educate. Handsaw is probably the easiest. It helps to be confident with what you're doing. If you're not confident with power tools, then don't attempt it yourself. Get some idiot in to help you.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you're not comfortable with your tools and working on whatever you're working on, you might end up wearing it. So just keep that in mind.
That is very true. They're dangerous things, so don't dick around.
No.
Bracing the shells while you're working on them definitely helps. Having a second pair of hands to hold on to things for you.
Definitely.
And from this point, we're not going to sand down the shells, which is what you would do if you were going to put on a bearing edge if they were going to be used as either batter or resonant side, because the skins that are going onto the bottom of these are going to be purely for aesthetics, so it doesn't look like I've got half a drum on my kit. So if you want to see more of Bobby and the things that he does with his fabrication and working on cars and bikes and stuff, then come find him on the Pig Pals, and the link for that will be down below in the description. He's quite entertaining, and he's probably more informative than I am about things, because I'm just dicking around until something works. So, see ya.
Bye. Can I take this shit off now?
You put it on.
Fucking hell.